Breaking news, within the last 10 minutes, the governor has mobilized the National Guard to help fight wildfires burning in western Colorado. The largest fire in the state is the Lee Fire near Meeker, nearly doubled in size to 45,000 acres. That's about 70 square miles. The fire was so intense, firefighters had to be evacuated out of fear for their safety. Just east, the Elk Fire grew to over 14,000 acres, or 22 square miles. Hot, dry, and windy conditions fueling these fires, and they're not supposed to let up for a while.
Let's go to 9 News meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, who is on the western slope for us tonight. And Corey, that fire is on Meeker's doorstep, though firefighters are not out of options to try and save the town, keep people from having to evacuate.
Yeah, the firefighters are saying they still have hope to keep the fire out of the town of Meeker, and that will be their ultimate priority over the next 2 windy days out here. Now, we are in Rifle right now, which is about 30 miles south of the fire zone. The hotel that we were set to stay at, the Bruce Boos Inn in Meeker, once they were put on pre-evacuation or voluntary evacuation notices, the manager called us and said she was just going to evacuate all her guests, and we decided to just stay in Rifle tonight and report on the fire as best we can, getting as close as we can to the fire tomorrow. Now, the incident commander of the fire, the Lee Fire, said that the fire was very active and behaved very aggressively today. And they got some bad news when the fire jumped Highway 13 and made it to the east side of Highway 13. They were really hoping that was one of the main fire breaks that they were using to help protect the town of Meeker. But like you were saying, Kyle, the fire was active today, but there's still hope. The reason why they are still on voluntary or pre-evacuation notices in Meeker is because the fire commander said there are still some natural fire breaks in line, some prairies, some the White River, for instance, which has not only the river but also the boundaries of the river to help protect that town. But the worst scenario would be for the fire to cross the river and get onto the Hogback, which is the ridge right outside of town, and that would give the fire direct access into the town of Meeker. That is their ultimate priority, to protect that from happening tomorrow. And of course, the weather, as we always know, is going to play a critical role in how that fire behaves tomorrow. Right now in Meeker, complete calm conditions, but that wind is expected to come back by about noon tomorrow, and it will be blowing out of the southwest again. So to get more details on that forecast, let's head over to my 9 News Weather Impact teammate, Chris Bianchi.
All right, thanks so much, Corey. Some very specific information there about that. And again, the kind of primary concern, the fire only about 3 to 4 miles south and west of Meeker right now, that southwest wind tomorrow. Corey mentioned some natural obstacles for the fire to get to Meeker, but if it jumps those, then tomorrow is certainly going to be a critical day there in the town of Meeker. Meantime, here in Denver, upper 70s, low 80s right now. Temperatures topping out at 97 for us in Denver today, triple digits in Fort Collins. Radar still showing a few of these gusty showers across southern Colorado, but those coming to a close as we speak. And those overall headlines, we look at the next couple of days, we stay hot and dry. We are in the middle, I guess, on this Wednesday, day 3 of 5 of the peak heat here, of this prolonged heat wave, but the peak of the heat will actually be tomorrow. That's when we expect those hottest temperatures. I'll show you how hot it gets here in Denver and across Colorado in just a few minutes.
Late tonight, United Airlines said it's repaired some massive tech issues that caused flight delays across the country.
Let's go to 9 News reporter Janelle Finch out at the airport. Janelle, you spoke to some passengers. They've had better travel days.
To say the least. Yeah, the problem is fixed, but the damage has already been done. According to FlightAware, more than 500 flights were delayed out of DIA today, and nearly 300 of those were United Airlines. For the last several hours, United Airlines says it was dealing with tech issues. The airline says the problem impacted the system that kept information about each flight. They say multiple operations like tracking flight times and calculating weight and balance depended on the system. Some UA passengers told 9 News they were stuck on planes and in airports waiting hours for answers. One passenger says he rebooked his flight to Denver on Southwest after he was delayed more than 3 hours.
We're supposed to leave at 4:28, and then they started lining up again around 6 o'clock, and then they changed the boards, said new departure time, made an announcement. They started to bring people down in a wheelchair to start boarding, and then I noticed they brought everyone back, and then they got back on the intercom and said that, we have another ground stop.
UA says that it is working with some passengers to provide them with hotel accommodations. They say that this has no connection to cybersecurity concerns in the airline industry. The FAA does say that it is working with United Airlines at this time. Live from DIA, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Democratic Governor Jared Polis is calling state legislators back to the Capitol for a special session. It is the third time they've done this in 3 years, so not that special anymore, I guess, not that unusual. State legislators will be back at work in 2 weeks. The governor's asking them to find $800 million to close a budget gap by using reserve funds, closing corporate tax loopholes to bring in more revenue, and then making cuts across various departments. Unlike the city of Denver and its current budget crisis, the state does not expect to lay off employees.
We are avoiding furloughs and layoffs, and we know that a hiring freeze makes it a little tougher on the folks to deliver services, but we need to show, of course, that we're doing our part to help meet these extraordinary times.
State certainly isn't wasting money on decorations for the office there. It's pretty sparse.
Bland.
Yeah, a little bit. So governor's also asking lawmakers to change or delay the start of a law that he has already signed.
9 News reporter Spencer Soisher is at the Capitol. And Spencer, the law centers on monitoring artificial intelligence for bias and discrimination.
Yeah, this first of its kind AI regulation law is the first one, like I said, in the nation. And it passed in 2024, but it was supposed to get some modifications during this past session. But sponsors and opponents of it couldn't agree on those. Now the governor wants them to go back and look at it, make some changes, or delay the start date.
Welcome, everybody.
When Democratic Governor Jared Polis announced a special legislative session, it wasn't just to fix the state's budget issues.
We also will be giving the legislature a chance to address the artificial intelligence issue, AI.
That artificial intelligence issue is not an issue to everyone.
No, I don't believe it needs to be addressed during the session.
Democratic State Senator Robert Rodriguez sponsored a bill that passed in 2024 and takes effect this coming February. It requires companies to explain how AI reached a decision for life-altering events, like why AI deems someone qualified or not for a loan, a medical procedure, health insurance, getting a job, or into a college.
It's policy on an industry that's never been regulated.
As more companies employ AI, Rodriguez's law requires a risk assessment to show any biases and says reasons need to be shared with the consumer.
I think if you're applying for a loan and you're denied, you should have the right to know why.
The problem, according to tech companies and the Colorado Technology Association, is that the current bill is too broad, and they think it needs to be delayed until it's fixed. In a statement, the company says without significant and thoughtful adjustments, SB 24205 threatens to slow innovation, drive investment elsewhere, and jeopardize the very jobs and industries that power our economy. The bill was supposed to be tweaked this past session to help clarify it, but lawmakers and tech advocates couldn't agree on the changes. Rodriguez says conversations are ongoing, and despite the governor's request, this 2024 law shouldn't be delayed past February 2026.
To say they don't have time now is interesting to me because they should have been working on the implementation for a long time.
Rodriguez said he'd never planned for this law to be over and done with when it passed in 2024, but says conversations fell apart over the last year over the consumer protection aspect of this that he says is a non-negotiable. Live at the Capitol, Spencer Soisher, 9 News.
The city of Denver will start laying off employees in a week and a half. The union representing some of those workers says lingering questions are causing stress, anxiety, and low morale. Just 12 days before the layoffs will be announced, the mayor's office still won't say how many people will lose their jobs and in which departments. But rumors are circulating among city employees nervous about what could happen next.
Is it going to be me? Is it going to be you? Look to the person to your left, look to the person to your right. One of them's not going to be here in 2 weeks.
The mayor's office says they don't have final numbers yet and will share the final decisions with employees first when they're made.
DIA is looking to go nuclear. The airport will spend $1.25 million to study the idea of putting in a small nuclear reactor. Airport leaders say an alternative energy source will help as the airport expands to meet expected demand over the next 20 years. And the state considers nuclear energy a clean power source, so it would be eligible for some government funding.
I think this is one source worth investigating if you want to grow at the scale we want to grow, with the values in which we want to grow, which is around both protecting our economic growth and protecting our climate.
DIA is in City Councilwoman Stacey Gilmore's district. Today she brought up several concerns, including what will happen to the nuclear waste.
We don't, as a country right now, have the infrastructure set up to store waste from these sort of activities.
Airport leaders say the study should provide more concrete answers in 6 months to a year.